To celebrate men being in power, which historically they've always been in power. Like, I don't think that's really appropriate.
To me, the name implies male supremacy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So before we get into this video today, we want to give you a heads up. So we are reading some comments and some people were saying that they're not getting notified when we're uploading a video or something like that.
YouTube's hating.
YouTube's acting a little funny right now, but yeah. Yeah,
so if you guys rock with us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, notification, like, comment, all that good stuff. We also got the membership.
Yes, become a member.
Become a member. And Patreon, of course. We got the vlogs popping off. Yeah. So go ahead and show your support to the channel. So here we go.
The University of Chicago helped launch many powerful men, 2 sitting Supreme Court justices, a billionaire governor, an attorney general, and more Nobel Prize winners than any other school. But these days, some students believe the college isn't doing enough to support the guys.
It's very easy to overlook some of the issues that pertain specifically to men.
So junior Steve Saltarelli created a new on-campus organization called Men in Power. The goal is to help and encourage men to aspire towards positions of influence.
We're just trying to cultivate leadership within men and hopefully provide some better men for society. If there are more good men in society, then everyone benefits.
The university has 9 female advocacy organizations. This would be the first for men. But some are questioning whether it's even necessary. Others are calling it male chauvinism.
If it's a thing to like put down women or to celebrate men being in power, which historically they've always been in power, like, I don't think that's really appropriate.
To me, the name implies male supremacy.
So hold on. Women got 9 organizations.
Yep.
And men have that one dega, what we say in the Caribbean, and it's a problem.
Yeah, 100%. But like, that's the thing that I don't get is that there's already men not wanting to go to college right now. I've been reading article after article about like men not wanting to go to college anymore and things like that, just, you know, for cost and other reasons.
Well,
why,
the
right?
courses
No
that
guarantee.
they're pushing.
Yeah.
A lot of feminist courses, a lot of mandatory courses that guys have to take that they don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, that goes across the board for like most programs in university. But like for this though, I think it's really important because at least this university is saying, hey, we've had some great men at this university who have accomplished great things. So we want to encourage more men to go to this maybe specific university to say, hey, you can also achieve greatness as well, possibly, if you go to the school and we can help you and give you mentorship and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing thing, and I don't know why people are having a problem with it. These women saying like, oh, it's not necessary, that men are already in power, like all this nonsense.
How would you define toxic masculinity as a term in your own words?
Toxic masculinity, I would define as...
There's no real definition, and I think that's the problem in today's society. A lot of women are just throwing the term around, but there's no real meaning behind it.
Of course, gender roles have evolved over the years. Women now far outpace men in getting college degrees, and the current recession has only intensified that shift. For the first time ever, more men than women are in the unemployment lines. 9.4% of males are currently out of work, compared to 7.1% of women. And more families are starting to look like the Hammonds. After losing his job at a tech firm, Chuck stays home, making his wife Debbie the sole breadwinner.
My dad kind of gave me that arched eyebrow. And there's definitely like old school thought process on staying at home and being a male where you're supposed to be the provider and everything.
That kind of role reversal can have a dramatic effect on the male psyche.
I think that men have a core need to be needed. They've got to feel needed. And when they've lost their job, they've really lost their main purpose in the family.
Hold on, what does she mean by that? His main purpose.
I have a problem with this, okay? Because as clearly he's a father, right? There's more to like, there's more that you could bring to the family than just a paycheck, okay? So the fact that she's trying to say like, oh, men only bring money into the household and that's really all their value is lied in.
Right.
That's not fair. I don't think that's fair at all.
Because you look at marriages in today's day and age, once a man loses his job, the marriage, it's on the rocks, right? It starts to get rocky.
Yeah.
Because once you start to put that financial burden on the woman to over deliver, you know, work those extra hours, overtime, maybe get a second job, how long is that going to last?
I mean, okay, but okay, Fine. So let's say the ideal situation is the man is the main breadwinner, and then the woman is maybe working part-time or stay at home with the children and taking care of the household, right? That's like the ideal situation. But guess what? Life happens.
Right.
And things happen in life where you're going to have to kind of like, manage the weight, like whatever the tasks are needed at that time.
There's ups
right?
and downs in life.
Yeah.
And in a perfect world, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
And, for a man, it's tough, right? Because a lot of women today look at men as walking wallets, and all that love and death do us part and, sickness and for better, for worse, all that good stuff. All that goes out the window. And, it's unfortunate. I
would have an issue if the man wasn't trying. Like, that's the issue I have. If you lose your job and you just lie on your couch potato for the rest, for months and months, then I would have an issue, right? But if I see that you're giving effort, you're actually being proactive and trying to change the situation and you want to do better for yourself, that's where I hold my respect. And I'm like, okay, no, I know he wants the best for our family and he's trying and I can see that, right? If you weren't doing anything, then I could see where that would be an issue.
Men account for half of the world, and these are real issues, and we feel that we deserve a voice.
Boy, this sparked quite a conversation around a weekend GMA staff room yesterday. And joining us now to talk about this further is Warren Farrell, author of many books, including The Myth of Male Power. Good morning, Dr. Farrell. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
I have to admit, for a moment when we started reading about this, I thought we were being punked. It seems ludicrous at its face, but by my own reaction may be saying something. This movement, this men's movement, is legitimate. It's been around for a few years. What do you make of this group at the University of Chicago?
Well, it's really important that the whole question of male and female roles begins to be discussed, and so that's really a good news about the group. But if the group is just focused on men preparing for professions, it's missing the bigger contribution equivalent that men need to do for ourselves that women did for themselves. Women asked, the women's movement, the gift of the women's movement was saying to women, ask yourself what you want to be. Don't tell yourself ahead of time, I have to be a mother, I have to be in the workplace. Men today in 2009 are pretty much where women were in 1959. We're about 50 years behind women in terms of asking, who do I want to be? If I want to be a full-time dad, there's not permission for me to do that. The mom can say I can be full-time in the workplace or full-time with the children or do some combination of both. Right. Whereas the man says, I have three options too. I can work full-time, I can work full-time, or I can work full-time. And so it's these questions that really that men need to be asking. Where men are committing suicides at much higher rates than women are. When women and men separate or divorce, men commit suicides at 10 times the rate. 82% of the people who have lost jobs since the recession.
Women have more options, whereas the men, your only option is to work. You have nothing else available to you, right? So being that constricted and society kind of framing men having all you're good for is working, I can understand why these stats are like that. In your mind, if you think all I have to offer is working, and if I don't work, then I'm worthless, right? So it's really sad to hear.
Why not celebrate men more?
Something's going on that needs to be paid attention to, but it's not men imitating climbing a ladder. It's men asking, who do I want to be with my life? That's what the women's movement gave to women, but nobody has given that to men. And that's the beginning of the process of what a Men in Power group will really be investigating. If it's doing a job of out-of-the-box thinking, not just imitating the old male thinking.
But how much of this, I don't want to make the caveman argument here, but how much of this is hardwired into males as the hunters as opposed to women being nurturers? Earning equals status and status equals sex, so a lot of it is biological.
Absolutely, and that's where both sexes have to change. Women can't just respond to men who are performers, or men will feel only lovable when we perform and unlovable when we lose a job. And so it's not just, we're all in this boat together, and the women's movement taught women to row on the left and the right side of the boat. but men still only know how to row on the right side. And the problem with that is that when women exercise their full range of power, the boat goes in circles because they're both rowing on one side because men don't know how to switch to raising children or rowing on the other side of the boat.
The way I see it is that a lot of stats have shown that like single fathers have performed, like they can raise really good children.
Better than a single mom.
Yeah, in comparison.
Right.
So when I see things like that, I'm like, is that really true though? Like, I don't know.
But I don't think it's a nurturing perspective, right? Because a father is going to lay the ground rules, the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make the hard decisions, right? So he's going to be more of that authoritative figure in a child's life versus a mother. She may let that child get away with certain things, which ultimately is a detriment to that child. So I think it's more of that aspect. I think for a woman, she would over nurture a child versus a father. He would kind of have a balance, so to speak.
I could see that. I think in my own experience, like just from like aunts and uncles and seeing like family members, whatever, I find that like maybe, I don't know if it's just my culture, that like both of the parents are very strict. It's not just the father who's like traditionally the more strict. It's usually both the parents. But again, like I think culture does play a part in this as well. Like I'm not sure. But
well, I mean, just look at North America, right? Generally speaking, a mother is going to be more nurturing than a father.
Yeah, more likely. Yes, I understand that. So.
And it seems like men have remained the same for the last 10, 20, 30, 60 years.
Yeah. But he's saying change that. He's saying change the gender roles. He's saying like, so I think
that's a dangerous message.
I think it should be balanced. Honestly, I think it's important to balance it out. I think men have instinctually like their the things that they strive in, and so do women. But I think it's more so just understanding that okay, the men go through struggles that the women need to understand, and vice versa, right? And I think it's just more coming to an understanding between both sides.
When my money's funny, I can't operate. And I think for a man, if he was flat broke and a housewife, I don't know if that would make him feel like a man, right? Because a man, in my opinion, a man's job is to provide security, provisioning for his family. And if he's not able to do that, and he's relying on a woman to do it for a long term, for a long period of time, I don't know if that marriage is going to last. Because if you look at the numbers, 70 to 80% of women are filing for divorce.
Yeah, and I think one of the top reasons at least is finances, right?
It's finance.
Yeah.
So if I'm staying at home, 80% of women are filing for divorces. I think that number would increase, if anything, because a woman's going to be like, all right, I'm out of here, right? That level of hypergamy is going to kick in because let's say she's, working with Chad at the office, making $80,000 a year, right? Good looking guy. And I got to go back home to my husband. That's a stay-at-home father, broke as hell. I don't know if that's going to incentivize her to want to stay, even though raising a child arguably is, just as important as working.
Yes.
But a lot of modern women are not going to view it like that.
I don't know. Like, okay, so I'm trying to think as a woman, and obviously I'm a woman, but like I'm trying to think of like the general population of like across the board what
you
women
you got to take yourself out of the
yeah. So as much as I would be like, as long as he's giving effort and it's just it's a period of time where he just isn't working, whatever, I would be like understanding towards that.
But what if it was long term though?
I think most women would have
10,
an issue.
20, 30 years.
If like, let's say if I could see a scenario where it's like, okay, both people are working, the men and the woman, right? And then the woman has to stay home to take care of the children, and then something happens, like, and then the kids grow up a little bit where she's able to go back to work, right? Okay. And then let's say the man loses his job. Now he's gonna stay home and take care of the house and the kids and whatever. I don't know, like, I'm trying to think if it's him being complacent in that. Where she may have an issue if he's not putting in any effort to like maybe start a business or do something to bring income into the household, that would cause an issue.
I think her attraction level is going to go down Because if he's at home,
Because he's not providing.
he's
in
not
that
providing.
manly way.
Right.
Okay.
He's not a man all of a sudden. Even though he provided for the family for the past 20, 25 years.
Or something. Yeah.
The little 2 years where he's at home, he's no longer a man.
See, this is where I come back to balance. Like, I think this is where it's really important to have an understanding with your partner and say, like, or, you know, your husband or your wife, whatever, to say, like, all right, if we, like, these are things you should discuss, I'm assuming, before marriage. Like, what is your stance? Worst case scenario, if this were to happen to us, right? If God forbid, if I lose my job or something, you know, like, what would you think would happen? Or how would you feel about that?
Right.
Maybe kind of have an understanding with her, see like where her mind is at before entering into marriage. Because if that's something where she's like, oh hell no, I would not be okay with that. Or if you give her a scenario being like, so I heard so and so's husband and wife scenario. Like, I heard so and so lost his job, now like the wife is like acting funny. Like, what do you think about that?
Okay.
And then if you hear her opinion about it and she's just like, oh, I would never stand for that. Like, I could never be with a man that like doesn't work or something. If you hear that, understand what it is.
She ain't the one.
So just be careful. And obviously if she gives a different answer, being like, you know what, if it's a situation where he's like, obviously he's trying and things happen and life happens, like ups and downs,
right,
then we work through it together. That's the answer you want to hear, right? So you kind of have to probe, I guess.
I think that's a good idea. Because you don't want to actually be in the scenario and then find out.
Just give us a quick little scenario being like, oh, I heard a story about so-and-so. What are your thoughts about it? And then see, like, you can just get her honest opinion because it's not attached to your relationship, right? So you have her honest opinion of what that could possibly happen and be like, if you were in that scenario, like what, or like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, or even just pre-marriage counsel in general would be a good idea to kind of sit down with somebody and just really go through the do's and don'ts of, what your marriage would look like.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a good time saver as well as money saver.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario if it doesn't work out.
I mean, not like, hello, your feelings too, right? Like, imagine like your emotional investment in someone. It would be heartbreaking if you were to put so much time and effort into somebody and then now like you find out this is how they act and whatever. Like, that's also very heartbreaking. So you want to avoid that, of course. So doing the upfront work and being diligent about like this, if this is the one person I want to enter marriage with, I need to know exactly what I'm entering into. Let us know in the comment section as well your thoughts about the video, what you took away from it, any key points that you want to kind of point out. Let us know what you guys think as well.